So I'm talking to a guy that does Valuetainment, who is creating content which is definitely telling you how to live. You wrote a book, The Laws of Doing the Impossible. Your video that popped off and went viral was all about how you can learn, and I'm going to use my words now. It doesn't matter who you are today. It matters who you want to become and the price you're willing to pay to get there. So help me, and maybe there's just another part of this. Help me square your sort of the totality of your DNA and your experiences, and then you completely end up shifting your life. You said the best thing that ever happened to you was hitting rock bottom because it forced you to reevaluate your thinking. So what I want to know is, right now, there are people watching us and they are panicking that you're saying that who they are today is just, it's a product of, the culmination of their DNA and their experience, and it's a trap, basically, and they are who they are. But I don't think you believe that.
I don't think that's what I'm saying, though.
So what is that next level of malleability? How much can we change?
So what I'm saying is, a part of it is your DNA. We have to understand that. There's a part of it that is your DNA.
And you'll never be able to break free from that, or you just have to understand it so that you know how to change?
No. For example, if you are somebody that, personality, I can't change your personality to be like XYZ. This whole concept about modeling, you got to model somebody. Too much modeling leads to imitation because you're not being you, right? So speaking, some people say, well, Pat, I don't see a lot of people speak like you. You speak differently. I don't know any other way to speak, but I used to try to speak like somebody else that I was trying to model. And I said, no, this is how I speak. This is me. This is my method of delivering my message to you. Makes sense? Great. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. But the part about the other side for me is, I also believe firmly that events, conversations, certain individuals can completely say something that can change your life forever.
So what are some of the tools that you use? I know that you've talked about clarity is super important, carrots. Talk to us about those two things, which I think are both pretty powerful.
Yeah, Tom, I would say questions. Like right now, I'm more curious about people that I can't even help myself. I'm asking you questions like, hey, how come you don't have any kids? We don't have any kids. Why don't you have any kids? Well, because, we decided 6 years ago we're not going to have any kids. Well, how did you know that? Well, we got married 17 years ago. Well, we've been together for 20 years. And my wife said, so was a decision an emotional decision or a logical decision? I think it was a logical decision because it was finally a way to get fulfillment. What you and your wife did is what very few people do. And the whole purpose is sitting down and asking the questions. What if I get asked a question that I don't have the answer to? One of the scariest things about life is a question. The scary question can shake a soul up because no one's asked that question from you. So for me, the transition for somebody to want to change it and get clarity is actually asking questions. If you don't ask the questions of what you want to do next, the world is going to put you in the box on what you have to do next, because they're determining who you need to be. And you are rising up to their expectations because you're not asking the questions yourself. So clarity to me is stemmed from you being able to sit down and ask those tough questions that piss you off, that irritate you, that make you emotional, that you cry over, that you reflect, that makes you want to do research, that makes you follow up, that makes you sit down and say, I don't really know. I've never thought about this before. And that goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So clarity is stemmed based on, like the way you answered a question to me, Tom, it was amazing. So do you have any kids? No, we made a decision a long time ago. We didn't want to have kids. The way you said it was like very nonchalant. Really. It was so like, yeah, that's what we did. Then I said, so tell me how you processed it. It's very obvious that was a very comfortable, certain decision with a lot of time put into it. Very few people do that. And then you got clarity, and clarity gives confidence. So somebody looks at your eyes when you give the answer. There is no, looking away or uncomfortable or anything. You're like, this is who we are. This is the decision we made. But that clarity came from all the conversations you and your wife had together. I don't think enough people do that together.
Yeah, no question. One thing in your book that you talked about that I thought was really interesting was you asked the question, to your point about questions, when was the last time you thought about your identity? And you just brought that up. What's that process for people? How do you what is the identity, which I think most people give stats. Like, what do you mean by that, and how can people begin to shape their identity?
So, Tom, who were you in high school?
What was my identity?
Yeah, so if I was in high school with you, who were you? You were a comedian?
1,000%.
Okay, comedian. Yep. When did it change?
As soon as I went to college. I consciously decided I wanted to become the artist which was not necessarily the right decision, but that was, when I changed.
And then what happened from artist to quest?
Poverty.
Got it.
And so I start want to be the funny guy because I need attention in high school.
Okay.
By the end of high school, I'm very good at making people laugh in a sort of living room funny way.
Mm-hmm.
I do countless hours of practice of stand-up comedy. And when I go to college, I'm like, my only style of humor is self-deprecating. So I'm always making fun of myself, which actually makes me think a little bit less of myself. And so I very much had an inferiority complex in high school. I cheated my way to being in the top 10 of my graduating class. I did terribly on my SATs. And I come into film school and I'm like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Like, I actually want to be good at this. And that's one sort of realization I'm grateful for, was I realized at some point you're in the big bad world and you're either good or you're not. Mm-hmm. And so you better stop cheating, really pay attention and get good. And so I thought I need to take myself more seriously, stop making fun of myself. So I didn't tell anybody that I was, a comedic person or anything. I didn't make jokes, nothing. And so I began to adopt the identity of the artist. I have some artistic failures, which creates this identity crisis. I'm very much in the grips of poverty now because I've graduated. My parents aren't helping me anymore. I'm selling insurance door to door. So
what year is this?
This would have been 99.
Wow.
So
20 years ago.
Yeah. So, and I'm just like in this, I'm sliding towards depression. I have no sense of how I can make things come true. This is all pre-internet. So like, there's no hope for me. Mm-hmm. Like the idea to make a $100,000 film, which back then there was no YouTube, there was no video cameras you could make movies on. I mean, it just wasn't a thing. So it was like a $100,000 film might as well have been a $100 million film. So I'm stuck. What am I going to do? And that's when I meet these two entrepreneurs who are like, look, you're coming to the world with your hand out. And if you want to control the art, you have to control the resources. And so that began a very long journey of identity for me, of figuring out, who am I? How do I define myself now? And how is that useful?
Wow.
Like understanding that it is completely malleable. I can decide right now that I'm somebody else, that my identity is something new and something different. Like I remember the day I told people I was going to start lifting. And I just said, right now, today, I'm lifting, and I told people I'm going to put on muscle, I'm going to look like Hugh Jackman. Everybody's like, yeah, right. And I just went beast mode, and I just started working out all the time. And I realized, whoa, like it's a demarcation line in the sand. Yesterday, at this time, I did not have the sense that I'm going to become like Hugh Jackman, that I am a lifter. I am somebody who sticks through with what they say. And now today, I'm just going to decide that is me. And so I began telling people it, which gave all this pressure that I had to live up to it. And I began to realize, like, whoa, this is a lever that you can pull, and it drives behavior.